Picture this with me. Imagine a kingdom shrouded in mist, where the moon hangs so low in the sky it feels like you could reach up and touch it. The air, it's thick with anticipation, with secrets whispered behind closed doors, with the rustle of silk gowns and the click of heels on marble floors. Can you hear it? That's the sound of ambition. That's the sound of desire. That's the sound of countless women, each one believing, knowing, that she will be the one to capture his heart. But whose heart are we talking about? Now that's where things get interesting. We're talking about King Aric, the White Lycan King. And before you ask me what makes him so special, let me paint you a picture that will make your spine tingle. Have you ever met someone who walks into a room and the very air changes? Where conversations stop mid-sentence, where eyes can't help but follow, where even the most confident person suddenly feels small? That's King Aric. But it's more than just presence. It's power. Raw, undeniable, ancient power that runs through his veins like liquid moonlight. They say when he transforms under the full moon, his fur is the color of fresh snow, so pure and brilliant that it hurts to look at him directly. They say his eyes, those piercing silver eyes, can see straight through you, past all your carefully constructed walls, past all your practiced smiles, right into the darkest corners of your soul. They say he's never lost a battle, never shown weakness, never bent his knee to anyone or anything. And his heart? Well, that's the greatest mystery of all, isn't it? Because here's what you need to understand, and I mean really understand. King Aric isn't just some lonely monarch looking for companionship. He's a king who has had everything offered to him on a silver platter since the day he was born. Every desire fulfilled before he could even voice it. Every wish granted before he could make it. So, what do you give a man who has everything? That's the question that's been haunting this kingdom. That's the question that's driven hundreds, no, thousands of women to try. And try they have. Oh, have they tried? Let me take you there right now. You're standing in the grand ballroom of the palace. Feel the cool marble beneath your feet. See the crystal chandeliers above, each one holding 1,000 candles that make the entire room glow like captured starlight. And look around you. To your left, there's Lady Seraphina. You can't miss her. She's the one in the crimson gown that probably cost more than most people earn in a lifetime. Her laugh rings out like carefully tuned bells, and every movement she makes is choreographed to perfection. She's spent years training for this moment. Years learning the art of seduction, the politics of power, the delicate dance of royal courtship. She knows exactly which angle shows off her high cheekbones, exactly how long to hold the king's gaze before looking away demurely. She's a master at this game. And she's not alone. Over there, do you see Commander Lyanna? The warrior woman with shoulders broad enough to carry the weight of armies, with scars that tell stories of battles won and enemies vanquished? She doesn't rely on pretty dresses or practiced laughs. She's different. She offers the king something else. Strength, partnership, a queen who could stand beside him on the battlefield and in the throne room with equal command. Watch how she moves, every step purposeful, every gesture controlled. She's calculated every possible angle of approach. She's studied his preferences, his patterns, his past. She believes she knows exactly what he needs. But wait, there's more. See that woman in the corner, the one surrounded by scrolls and ancient texts. That's scholar Isadora. She's taken a different approach entirely. She's memorized every law in the kingdom, every piece of its history, every strategic alliance that matters. She speaks 7 languages fluently and can debate philosophy with the wisest minds in the realm. Her strategy? To win his mind first, believing that his heart will follow. And there are so many others. So many. The dancer who moves like water given form. The healer whose touch can cure any wound. The diplomat who's brokered peace between warring factions. The artist whose paintings hang in galleries across the realm. Each one bringing something unique, something special, something they're absolutely convinced will be the key to unlocking the king's heart. Can you feel the tension in the air? The competition isn't just fierce, it's suffocating. Each woman watches the others like a hawk, noting every interaction with the king, analyzing every smile, every word, every glance. Because they all know that there can be only one. Only one woman will wear the crown beside him. Only one will share his throne, his bed, his life. And the pressure. Oh, the pressure is immense. But here's what none of them know. Here's the secret that would change everything if they could only see it. King Aric is drowning. I know. How can a man with everything be drowning? But stay with me here because this is where the story gets really interesting. This is where you need to understand what it's really like to be him. Imagine for a moment, and I want you to really put yourself in this, that everywhere you go, people are performing for you. Every smile is calculated. Every laugh is measured. Every word is weighed for its potential impact. No one just is around you. They're all trying to be what they think you want them to be. And here's the devastating part. You can see right through it all. Those silver eyes I told you about? They're not just for show. King Aric can sense intention. He can feel the desperation beneath the perfume and silk. He can hear the ambition hiding behind words of devotion. And day after day, night after night, he sits on his throne, that cold, magnificent throne, surrounded by all these incredible women, and feels absolutely nothing. Nothing. Do you know how lonely that is? To be surrounded by people constantly, and yet feel completely alone? To have 1,000 hands reaching for you, but not one that you want to hold? He tries, he really does. He attends the balls, accepts the gifts, listens to the proposals and presentations. Lady Seraphina performs a dance specifically choreographed for him, and yes, it's beautiful, technically perfect, but it feels as empty as watching a music box ballerina spin. Commander Lina demonstrates her sword skills in the training yard, and yes, she's impressive, truly formidable, but when he looks at her, all he sees is another version of himself, another warrior locked in armor, unable to truly be vulnerable. Scholar Isadora quotes poetry to him in ancient languages, and the words are lovely, but they feel rehearsed, performed, designed to impress rather than express. Do you see the pattern? Do you feel his frustration? Night after night, he stands at his window, looking out over his kingdom, and wonders if this is all there is. If perhaps true connection, real, honest, unguarded connection, simply isn't meant for men like him. Maybe the crown is too heavy. Maybe the power is too bright. Maybe someone in his position is destined to live in this gilded cage forever, surrounded by people who want him but never truly see him. And that's when the doubt creeps in. The dangerous, insidious doubt that whispers, maybe you're broken. Maybe you're incapable of feeling what others feel. Maybe your heart has turned as cold and hard as the marble floors of your palace. Can you imagine carrying that weight? That question? But then something changes. And this is where I need you to pay very close attention, because this is where the real story begins. It's an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. Nothing special about it. The sun is filtering through the trees in the royal garden, creating patterns of light and shadow on the ground. And the king, exhausted from another morning of performances and proposals, decides to take a walk. Alone. Truly alone for the first time in weeks. He's not looking for anything. He's not expecting anything. He's just walking, trying to clear his head when he hears it. A voice. Not loud. Not commanding. Not trying to impress or seduce or convince. Just a voice. Soft and steady, talking to, are those birds? And despite himself, despite every instinct telling him to turn back before he gets pulled into another performance, another show, he finds himself drawn toward that voice. He finds himself wanting to see who it belongs to. He rounds a corner in the garden, and there she is. Elara. And I want you to picture her clearly, because she's not what you're expecting. She's not wearing a ball gown. There's no expensive jewelry glittering at her throat. Her hair isn't elaborately styled. She's in simple clothes, practical, comfortable, and she's kneeling beside a fountain, scattering seeds for the birds that have gathered around her. But it's not what she looks like that stops the king in his tracks. It's how she is. She's completely unaware of him, completely absorbed in what she's doing. And she's talking to the birds, actually having a one-sided conversation with them about the weather, about the quality of the seeds, about how one of them seems to be limping and she hopes it's okay. Her voice is warm and genuine and completely, utterly unguarded. And the king, the White Lycan King who has remained unmoved by 1,000 calculated performances, feels something shift in his chest. It's like the first crack in ice that's been frozen solid for years.
Small.
Barely noticeable.
But there.
Now, here's what you need to understand about Elara. She's what they call an omega in the Lycan hierarchy. And if you don't know what that means, let me explain it in a way that will make your heart ache. In the rigid, brutal social structure of the Lycan world, omegas are, well, they're considered the lowest rank. Not because they're weak. Don't ever confuse quiet with weak, but because they don't fit the traditional markers of power. They're not dominant. They're not aggressive. They don't command rooms or lead armies or broker political deals. They're the caregivers, the nurturers, the ones who notice when someone is hurting and actually care enough to help. They're the ones who remember your favorite food, who notice when you're wearing yourself too thin, who can sense emotions that others miss entirely. In a world that values strength and dominance above all else, omegas are dismissed, overlooked, considered lesser. And Elara has lived her entire life in that shadow. She's never been to the grand balls in the palace. She's never competed for the king's attention. She works in the palace gardens, tending to the plants and the small animals that make their home there, and she does it not because she dreams of being noticed, but because it brings her genuine joy. She doesn't know that the most powerful man in the kingdom is watching her right now, hidden behind a pillar, unable to look away. And King Aric? He can't explain what's happening to him. This woman isn't doing anything special. She's not trying to impress him. She doesn't even know he exists in this moment. So, why can't he stop watching her? Why does the simple sound of her laugh, genuine and unforced, make something in his chest tighten? He tells himself he'll walk away in a minute. Just one more minute. Just to figure out what's so captivating about this ordinary scene. But the minutes stretch on. He watches as she gently examines the injured bird, her brow furrowed in concern. He watches as she carefully creates a small splint from garden twigs and strips of cloth she tears from her own sleeve without hesitation. He watches as she talks to the bird the entire time, her voice soothing and steady. "I know it hurts, little one. I know. But you're going to be okay. I promise you're going to be okay." And something about the way she says it, the absolute conviction in her voice, the unwavering gentleness, makes the king believe her too. Makes him believe that maybe things can be okay. That maybe there's a different kind of strength than the one he's always known. The next day, he finds himself in the garden again. He tells himself it's coincidence. He tells himself he just needs fresh air. But his feet carry him to the same spot, and his eyes search until they find her. She's there again, of course. This time she's talking to the plants as she tends them. And before you laugh, before you dismiss it as silly, listen to what she's saying. "I know you're struggling," she murmurs to a wilting rose bush. "I know the sun's been too harsh and the soil's been too dry. But I'm here now. I'm going to help you. You just need to hold on a little longer, okay? Just trust me." And the king, the White Lycan King who has negotiated with warlords and faced down enemies without flinching, feels tears prick at his eyes. Because when was the last time someone spoke to him like that? When was the last time someone saw him struggling and offered help without expecting anything in return? He starts coming to the garden every day. Always hidden, always watching. And I know what you're thinking. This sounds obsessive, doesn't it? Maybe even a little creepy? But here's the thing you need to understand. King Aric isn't watching Elara because he wants to possess her or control her. He's watching because, for the first time in his life, he's seeing someone be completely, authentically themselves. There's no performance, no angle, no agenda, just truth. He sees her share her lunch with a stray cat. He sees her cry quietly when she finds a bird that didn't survive the night, and he watches as she gives it a proper burial, digging a small hole with her own hands and marking it with a smooth stone. He hears her sing, off-key and unself-conscious, as she works. He sees her stop in the middle of her tasks to help an elderly gardener carry heavy bags of soil, refusing to let him struggle alone despite having her own work to finish. And day by day, moment by moment, that crack in the ice around his heart grows wider. But now we come to the part that's tearing him apart. Because King Aric is starting to realize something that terrifies him more than any enemy ever has. He's falling in love with Elara. And it makes absolutely no sense. Think about it from his perspective. He is the most desirable woman in the entire kingdom, perhaps in the entire world, literally lining up for his attention. Women who are stunningly beautiful, incredibly talented, strategically brilliant. Women who could strengthen political alliances, who could rule beside him with strength and wisdom, who could give him powerful heirs and secure his legacy. And yet his heart, his foolish, traitorous heart, has chosen the quiet Omega in the garden who doesn't even know his name. The pressure from his council is immense. Every day they present him with new candidates, new arguments for why he should choose one of the prominent women vying for his attention. Lady Seraphina comes from the most powerful noble family in the realm. Imagine the alliance that marriage would create. Commander Lyanna could unify the military forces behind his throne. Think of the strategic advantage. Scholar Isadora could revolutionize the kingdom's educational system. Consider the legacy.
And what can he say?
How can he explain that none of it matters? That when he's sitting in state dinners with these impressive women, making polite conversation about politics and strategy, all he can think about is whether the injured bird recovered, whether Elara remembered to eat lunch, or if she gave it all to the stray cat again. His closest advisor, a man who's known him since childhood, finally confronts him one night. "You're distracted, Your Majesty. The council is concerned. The kingdom is waiting. You must choose soon." And the king wants to scream, "I have chosen. My heart has chosen." But how can he say it out loud when he knows how it sounds? How can he explain that the woman he wants is someone no one has even considered as a possibility? So, he does what he's always done. He buries his feelings. He attends more balls, accepts more proposals, tries desperately to feel something for these appropriate, suitable, perfect candidates. But it's like trying to force yourself to love a painting because everyone tells you it's beautiful. You can appreciate the technique. You can acknowledge the skill. But you can't make your heart race when you look at it. You can't make it feel like home. And then fate, or perhaps destiny, intervenes. There's a grand celebration planned. The entire palace is in chaos with preparations. And someone realizes at the last minute that the arrangements for the royal garden display are completely inadequate. The person responsible has fallen ill, and they need someone immediately, someone who knows the gardens intimately, who can create something beautiful under impossible time pressure. Someone suggests Elara. The king, sitting in a meeting when this information reaches him, has to work to keep his expression neutral. His heart is hammering in his chest. Elara coming to the palace proper? Elara entering his world? The night of the celebration arrives, and the garden looks like something from a dream. Elara has worked magic with flowers and lights, creating an atmosphere that's both elegant and warm, sophisticated and welcoming. It's not trying to impress, it simply is beautiful, in an honest, unpretentious way. Just like her. And then he sees her. Not hidden in shadows where she belongs to him alone, but here, in his world, wearing a simple dress that someone from the palace staff must have loaned her because her work clothes weren't appropriate. She looks uncomfortable in the formal setting, uncertain, like a deer that's wandered into a clearing and is ready to bolt at any moment. She's standing near her garden display, nervously adjusting a flower that's already perfect, when one of the noble ladies, Lady Seraphina, to be precise, approaches her with a group of friends. And the king watches, his body tensing, as they start talking to her. He can't hear what they're saying from where he stands, but he can see Elara's face flushing, can see her shoulders hunching slightly, can recognize the defensive posture of someone being mocked or belittled. And something in him snaps. Before he even realizes he's moving, he's crossing the garden, his presence parting the crowd like a knife through silk. The music seems to falter. Conversations die mid-sentence. Everyone turns to watch as the White Lycan King, who has remained diplomatically distant from all the candidates despite their best efforts, makes a beeline straight for the Omega in the corner. Ladies, he says, his voice cool and controlled as he addresses Seraphina's group. They immediately curtsy, but he barely acknowledges them. His eyes are on Elara, who's staring at him with a mixture of shock and confusion. If you'll excuse us. It's not a request. It's a command. And the noble ladies scatter, leaving him alone with Elara. And now, for the first time, he's standing directly in front of her. Not hidden. Not watching from afar. Actually present. And she's looking up at him with those wide, honest eyes, and he can see that she has absolutely no idea who he is. No idea that she's been the object of his thoughts for weeks. No idea that she's unknowingly competing with some of the most desirable women in the kingdom and winning. I'm sorry, my lord, she stammers, addressing him with a generic title because she doesn't recognize him. In her world, she's never had reason to see the king up close. Was there something wrong with the garden arrangements? I can fix it, Nothing's wrong, he interrupts gently. Everything is perfect. I just wanted to thank you for your work. And the relief that floods her face is so pure, so genuine, that it makes his chest ache. This is what gets her this flustered? Concern over whether her work is adequate? Not ambition for power or status, but simply pride in doing her job well? Oh, she breathes, her hand going to her chest. Oh, thank you. I was worried because I've never done something this formal before, and I wasn't sure if... She stops abruptly, seeming to realize she's rambling. A nervous habit he's learned from watching her in the garden. When she's anxious, she talks too much, then catches herself and stops too quickly. He finds it endearing. It's beautiful, he says, and he means it. It feels alive.
Real.
Not like a display trying to impress, but like an actual garden that happens to be beautiful. And the way her face lights up at this compliment, the way she seems to glow from within, is worth more than all the practiced smiles and rehearsed charm he's endured from the others combined. That's exactly what I was trying to do, she exclaims, her nervousness momentarily forgotten in her enthusiasm. Because gardens aren't meant to be museums, are they? They're meant to be lived in, experienced. The flowers don't bloom to impress anyone. They just bloom because that's what they're meant to do, and the beauty is just a side effect of them being their truest selves. And right there, in that moment, with those words, the king falls completely, irrevocably in love. Because she's not just talking about gardens, is she? She's describing exactly what he's been searching for his entire life. Someone who doesn't bloom to impress him. Someone who's just being their truest self, and the beauty is simply a side effect. But now he's in an impossible position. Because how does he pursue this? How does he court a woman who doesn't even know who he is? And more importantly, how does he choose her when it will cause absolute chaos in the kingdom? The next few weeks are torture. He tries to find ways to see her, to talk to her, without revealing his identity. He starts taking morning walks in the garden, timing them to coincide with her work hours. They fall into an easy pattern of conversation. She still thinks he's just some palace official, maybe a minor lord, and he lets her believe it because in these moments, she treats him like a person. Just a person.
She asks him about his day.
Actually listens to his answers. Shares stories about the garden and the animals she tends. Makes him laugh with her observations about palace life from a servant's perspective. And for the first time in his life, he feels normal.
Known. Seen.
But reality keeps intruding. The council is growing impatient. Noble families are starting to make threats about withdrawing support if their daughters aren't chosen. Commander Lyanna has intimated that the military faction may question his leadership if he doesn't make a decision soon. Scholar Isadora has presented him with a detailed treatise on the historical precedent for royal marriages and the strategic necessity of choosing wisely. And every night, he lies awake, torn between duty and desire, between what he should do and what his heart is screaming at him to do. His advisor corners him again. Your Majesty, you must decide. The kingdom cannot remain in this state of uncertainty. I know, the king says quietly. Then choose. Lady Seraphina would bring wealth and noble alliances. Commander Lyanna would bring military strength. Scholar Isadora would bring... None of them would bring me happiness, he interrupts. None of them would bring me peace. His advisor looks at him sharply. You found someone else. It's not a question. It's a statement. And the king doesn't deny it. It's that Omega, isn't it? The gardener. I've heard the servants talking. The king's jaw clenches. Her name is Elara. Your Majesty, you cannot be serious. And Omega? The council will never accept it. The noble families will revolt. You're talking about choosing the lowest-ranked member of our society as your queen. It's political suicide. And the king knows he's right. He knows that choosing Elara would cause massive upheaval, that it would be seen as an insult to all the powerful women who have competed for him, that it would upset the delicate balance of power in the kingdom. But then he thinks about Elara's laugh, about her gentle hands tending wounded birds, about the way she talks to plants like they're old friends, about how she makes him feel like he can finally breathe after a lifetime of suffocating. And he makes his decision. He calls for a grand assembly. Everyone who's anyone in the kingdom is summoned to the throne room. All the women who have vied for his attention are there, dressed in their finest, each one hoping this is the moment she'll be chosen. Elara is there too, standing in the back with the other servants. She has no idea why she's been required to attend. Servants don't usually come to these formal assemblies, but she obeys because that's what you do when summoned by palace authority. The king enters, and the room falls silent. He looks magnificent in his formal regalia, every inch the powerful ruler. But his eyes, those silver eyes that can see through anything, are scanning the crowd, searching. They find Elara in the back, lock onto her, hold. And she feels it. Even from across the room, even surrounded by hundreds of people, she feels the weight of his gaze. Looks up, sees the man she's been having morning conversations with in the garden, the minor lord she thought she'd befriended, standing at the front of the room in the king's position. Her hand goes to her mouth in shock. Understanding dawns, followed immediately by panic. He's the king. He's the White Lycan King. And she's been treating him like a friend, rambling about her day, sharing her silly thoughts, being completely inappropriate. But he's smiling at her. Even from across the room, she can see his smile. And it's not the cold, formal smile he wears for the court. It's the warm, genuine smile he gives her in the garden when she says something that delights him. I have called you here, the king's voice rings out, strong and clear, to announce my choice for queen. The tension in the room is unbearable. Every woman stands a little straighter, holds her breath. There has been much speculation, he continues. Many have assumed I would choose based on political alliance, or military strength, or noble lineage. And I will not lie to you. I have been advised strongly to do exactly that. He pauses, his eyes never leaving Elara, who looks like she might faint. But I am choosing to follow my heart. And my heart has chosen someone who embodies the very qualities I value most in this world. Kindness, genuine compassion,
Honesty.
the strength to be vulnerable, the courage to be soft in a hard world. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. People are looking around, trying to figure out who he's talking about. None of the prominent candidates fit this description. My heart has chosen Elara, he says simply. The Omega who tends our gardens and cares for the smallest creatures of this kingdom with the same devotion I wish to see given to the greatest matters of state. The room erupts. Gasps of shock. Cries of outrage. Lady Seraphina looks like she's been slapped. Commander Lina's face is carefully blank, but her jaw is tight with fury. Scholar Isadora is already calculating the political ramifications. But the king isn't looking at any of them. He's looking at Elara, who has tears streaming down her face, who's shaking her head in disbelief. Elara, he says, and his voice carries across the chaos, silencing it with the weight of his authority. Will you come here, please? The crowd parts as she walks forward. Each step feels like an eternity. She's still in her simple servant's dress, her hands still bearing traces of garden soil under her nails. She looks nothing like a queen. She looks like exactly what she is, a gardener who's been thrust into an impossible situation. When she reaches him, she whispers, barely audible even to those nearby, "Why? And the king, this powerful man who could have anyone, looks at her with such tenderness that it makes the cynics in the room question everything they thought they knew about power and choice. Because, he says softly, every woman in this kingdom has shown me who they think I want them to be. But you've shown me who you actually are. And who you are is everything I've been searching for. But I'm no one, she protests. I'm just. You're someone who cries over injured birds, he interrupts gently. Someone who gives her lunch to stray cats even when you're hungry yourself. Someone who talks to plants like they're your friends and means it. Someone who sees value in the smallest, most overlooked things. And if you can see value in those things, then maybe you can see value in me. Not the king. Not the crown. Just me. And there it is. The truth laid bare for everyone to see. This isn't about politics or strategy or noble bloodlines. This is about a man who's spent his entire life in armor, finding the one person who makes him feel safe enough to take it off. I don't know how to be a queen, Elara whispers. I don't know how to be a husband, he admits. But I know how to be the person I am when I'm with you. And that's the person I want to be. That's the person I need to be. The silence in the room is deafening. Everyone is watching this unprecedented scene unfold. The White Lycan King vulnerable. Honest.
Human.
Elara looks around at all the faces staring at her. Sees the shock, the disapproval, the calculation. Then she looks back at him. At this man who's had everything and found it all empty. At this king who's choosing her not despite her ordinariness, but because of it. I'm going to mess this up so badly, she says with a watery laugh. And he smiles. Probably. I'm going to mess it up too. But we'll figure it out together. She takes his offered hand. And in that moment, something shifts in the kingdom. Because everyone in that room, from the noble ladies in their silk gowns to the servants standing in the back, is witnessing something they thought was just a fairy tale. True choice. Based not on advantage or appearance or expectation, but on genuine connection. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're wondering if it worked out. If the kingdom accepted this unprecedented choice. If Elara became a good queen. If their love survived the pressures of royal life. And here's what I'll tell you. It wasn't easy. The noble families were furious for months. Some threats of rebellion were made. Commander Lyanna did briefly withdraw military support, though she eventually came around when she saw that the king's happiness made him a more effective leader. Lady Seraphina left the kingdom entirely, unable to bear the humiliation. But Elara surprised everyone. Because the same qualities that made her such an exceptional gardener made her an exceptional queen. Her ability to see what was hurting, what needed tending, what required gentle care. She brought all of that to governance. She started programs for the overlooked members of society. She revolutionized the way the kingdom cared for its elderly and its children. She brought that same genuine compassion to diplomacy that she'd brought to injured birds, and somehow it worked. More importantly, she never stopped being herself. She still tended the gardens every morning, still talked to the plants, still made the king laugh with her observations. And slowly, the kingdom learned to love her. Not because she was powerful or politically brilliant or strategically savvy, but because she was genuine. And in a world of performance and pretense, genuine became revolutionary. But here's why I really told you this story. Here's why it matters. Because right now, wherever you are, whatever situation you're in, you're probably surrounded by voices telling you what you should want, what you should value, what choices you should make. Maybe you're told that you should pursue power, status, wealth, that you should choose the impressive option, the strategic option, the option that makes sense on paper. And maybe there's a quiet voice inside you, like Elara, tending her gardens, that's saying something different. That's valuing different things. Gentle things.
Simple things.
Honest things. And you're scared to listen to that voice because it doesn't make sense. Because it's not what everyone else is doing. Because choosing what your heart actually wants instead of what you're supposed to want feels terrifying and maybe even selfish. But here's what King Aric learned. The things that look impressive from the outside are often empty on the inside. And the things that seem small and insignificant a woman talking to birds, a garden tended with love, moments of genuine connection. Those are the things that actually fill the hollow places in your soul. The king had everything. Literally everything. And it meant nothing until he had someone who saw him.
Really saw him.
Not the crown or the power or the image, but the person underneath all that. And Elara? She thought she was nobody. Just a gardener. Just an omega. Just someone tending plants in the background while important things happened elsewhere. She had no idea that her simple, honest way of being in the world was exactly what someone desperately needed. You don't know whose life you're changing just by being authentically yourself. You don't know who's watching from the shadows, feeling their frozen heart crack open because you dared to care about injured birds or talk to plants or show genuine kindness to the overlooked. So here's my question for you as we come to the end of this story. What's your garden? What's the thing you do that feels small and insignificant but brings you genuine joy? What's the part of yourself you hide because it doesn't fit what you're supposed to be? What's your equivalent of talking to birds? The thing that makes you feel most yourself, but also most vulnerable. And here's my second question. What would happen if you stopped hiding it? What would happen if you let yourself be as genuinely, authentically you as Elara was in that garden? I can't promise you'll win a king's heart, but I can promise you this. The people who are meant to love you will only find you if you're actually being yourself. All the performance in the world won't create real connection. Only truth creates truth. The White Lycan King had thousands of women performing for him, and it left him feeling nothing. One woman just being herself, and it changed everything. You are someone's Elara. The authentic version of you, not the polished, performing, trying to be what you think you should be version, but the real, messy, genuinely you version. That's what someone is searching for. That's what will create the connection that actually matters. But you have to be brave enough to be that version. Even when it feels small. Even when it seems insignificant. Even when the loud, impressive people around you make you feel like you're not enough. Elara felt like she wasn't enough. And she was exactly enough. More than enough. Everything. And so are you. So the next time you're tempted to hide the parts of yourself that feel too soft, too gentle, too simple, remember the gardener who won a king's heart just by being honest. Remember that sometimes the quiet voice is the one worth listening to. Remember that the thing you think makes you ordinary might be exactly what makes you extraordinary to the person who matters. The White Lycan King chose the Omega. Not because she was the obvious choice. Not because it made political sense. Not because anyone expected it. But because when everything else fell away, all the performance, all the pretense, all the pressure, she was the one who made him feel like he could finally be himself. And that, more than any crown or kingdom or conquest, is what we're all really searching for, isn't it? That one person who makes us feel like we can finally stop performing. Finally be real. Finally be enough. You are enough.
Right now.
As you are. The right people will see it. The right opportunities will find you. The right life will unfold when you stop trying to be what you think you should be and start being what you actually are. That's what Elara taught the kingdom. That's what this story teaches us. Be the gardener who talks to birds. Be the person who cries over small things. Be the one who cares when it's not strategic to care. Be vulnerable. Be genuine. Be soft in a world that keeps telling you to be hard. Because somewhere, someone is waiting for exactly that. Someone whose heart has been frozen by 1,000 performances is waiting for the one real thing. The one true thing. The one you. And when you find each other, when genuine meets genuine, when truth recognizes truth, that's when the real story begins. Not the fairy tale version. The real version. Messy and complicated and absolutely worth it. The White Lycan King found his Omega. Now go find yours. Or better yet, be yours. Be the person who's so authentically themselves that they become irresistible to the people who matter. That's the real magic. That's the real power. That's the real choice. Choose truth. Choose authenticity. Choose the garden, even when the ballroom seems more impressive.
Choose you.
Because in the end, that's what this whole story was really about. One person choosing to be themselves, and another person recognizing that as the most valuable thing in the world. Be valuable by being you. That's the lesson. That's the truth. That's what changes kingdoms and hearts and lives. Now go tend your garden. You never know who's watching. You never know whose frozen heart might crack open at the sight of you just being beautifully, honestly, perfectly yourself. That's where the real story begins.